Hey guys, if you are here joining me live, feel free to say hello in the chat. I'll just give you a minute to give people a minute to sign on, and then we will start right on 9 o'clock. All right, so welcome to Tea with Phoebe D. My Tea with Phoebe D mug is dirty, so I'm using my old one. um, In case this is the first video you're watching of mine, I am a women's sexual and emotional empowerment coach. And by empowerment, I just mean the ability, knowing that you have the power and ability to choose and change your life. And basically, I teach women tools to help free themselves from fear, shame, guilt, any conditioning, things like that, and I help them to fall deeply in love with themselves and their bodies and their sexuality. So, my topic today is how to stop waiting for your parents to change. And this is a very juicy one because I know that a lot of us struggle with this, where I've heard so many people say, like, oh, I just wish my mom would do this, or I wish my dad would do that, or, my life would be so different if my parents were different, which is true. But a lot of times it really holds us back from feeling the love, safety, and belonging that we deserve and desire. And it's easy to spend our whole lives waiting for our parents to change, to be who we want them to be, or to be who we think they should be. And I'm super nervous to do this today because I don't want my parents to see this. And so I am saying this from a place of growth because I've come a long way with the way I feel about my parents. But it is not coming from a place of perfection. So if you only take advice from perfect people, then maybe don't listen to me about anything. Actually, I have not achieved perfection in anything. And to give me courage to do this YouTube, I wore my biggest and baddest and most colorful earrings that I have because my earrings do give me courage. So I really struggled with my parents because I grew up, as probably most of you know by now if you're watching my channel or know anything about me, I grew up in an incredibly strict religious, Christian religious cult or cultish sect, at very least. And now I am a women's sexual and emotional empowerment coach, and I wear pants and cut my hair and wear earrings and had a baby before I got married and all the things that I was taught not to do. I even go to movie theaters, which is a big sin. And I really wanted my parents to accept me the way that I am and not to judge me based on their belief system. Like to not believe that I'm going to hell. And to respect like all the courage and hard work that it's taken me to get where I am, instead of seeing me as being more and more progressively lost in my life and a sinner. So yeah, I just really wanted my parents to accept me the way that I was. And to me, there's kind of three levels of acceptance, or I don't know, there's kind of three levels. I don't know what you would say to kind of overarch it, but the first level is acceptance. I guess the very first level would be tolerance, and then acceptance, and above acceptance, more than acceptance, is approval. Not necessarily approval of like every decision that you make, but approval of you as a person and your path and your journey. And then the top layer is celebration. And so I feel like my parents tolerate my choices in life and they accept them. But they certainly don't approve, and they most definitely don't celebrate them. Hey, Tennille. Maybe you can relate. So, I don't know. I don't even know what it would be like for my parents to really approve of and celebrate my choices in my life. And I really wanted that. Like I felt like if they could if they could approve and celebrate me for who I am, it would give me a sense of belonging, like a belonging. Belonging is a big one, and also a sense of mm, I don't know, like validation and being valued. I felt like it would give me this deep and like a deep sense of safety or like being rooted, because those are all the things that parents give us as children: safety, belonging, love, and being tethered somewhere. Or that's sort of what parents should give us, I guess. And I I did feel that way when I was little, as long as I, you know, followed their beliefs and dressed the way they wanted me to dress and said the things that I was supposed to say and made the choices that I was supposed to make. Um, but I never felt like unconditional approval or celebration. Or even, I wasn't even sure, like when I quit going to the church or a cult, I I didn't even know if I would get unconditional acceptance. Like I wasn't sure. I didn't know how my family would respond. It was a possibility that maybe they wouldn't want me around. Like maybe my siblings wouldn't want me around their kids anymore, or like maybe my family wouldn't want to hang out with me as much. I didn't really know what to expect. Um, and then one day, when I was thinking about my parents, and I thought, I just want them to accept me the way that I am and celebrate me for who I am. I realized, how can I expect that from them if I don't give that to them? Because I wasn't celebrating my parents for who they were, and I wasn't approving of their choices either. And I don't know, it was just a very sobering thought for me, and it really started me on my parental relationship journey. My internal parental relationship journey is like, I can't expect something from my parents that I'm not willing to give back to them or able to give back to them. And I think it was really helpful for me to really realize, to get really clear on what I wanted from my parents and then what I thought I would get out of it. This is really helpful to do with anything that we want, especially from other people. So it's like an if then. If my parents celebrated me for who I was and the choices that I've made, then I would feel a deep sense of belonging and rootedness. Okay, like that's more clarity than I had had before. And then I thought, what if I can fulfill my own needs? What if I can give myself that deep sense of belonging and rootedness? What if I can belong to myself that deeply? What if I can celebrate myself and my choices so completely and approve of myself so completely that I get that same sense of belonging and rootedness from myself? And that was a really beautiful thought for me. And then I started doing this. I kind of brought together a few of the practices that I was learning in my course on parents and parenting. And the course that I took, like it really does, and the way that I teach people, it really focuses on meeting your own needs within yourself. And because you know how like people always talk about your inner child, and then a lot of times that's where it stops. But you can actually reparent your inner child. And so you tap into like your inner mother and your inner father, those parts of you, and you can reparent your inner child. And you can give your child those little parts of you that still feel small and hurt and like whatever it is, like not enough or not lovable. You can love those parts and you can validate those parts yourself as an adult. Like I am a mother right now. And so what I give to my son, I can give the same thing to myself. And my inner mother is really easy for me to tap into because I am a mother. Maybe I think women in general can tap into their inner mothers somewhat easily to a certain extent. Not all of them, but some of them. But my inner father, like I wasn't super connected to my masculine when I started this course. And I didn't have an inner father. I was like, it just doesn't exist. And I couldn't even imagine, like, what would it be like to have a father that I could feel totally comfortable being me around? Like I just couldn't even fathom it. And so I thought, if I don't have an inner father, maybe I could create one. And I didn't know if that would work or not. Like it seems, it doesn't like seem legit, you know? It doesn't seem like, oh, you're just gonna create this thing in your head that's gonna meet your needs. Like how is that even a thing? And I didn't know if it would work, but I thought I would try. And so I asked some of my friends that had fathers that they had a good relationship with their fathers and they felt really comfortable to be themselves around their dads. Actually, I could only find two. But I asked them, what was it like growing up? What kind of things did your father say to you? What was it like when you went out dressed sexy? What did he say? What did he think? You know, what happened when you were scared, or like did you feel comfortable talking to your dad? What was that like? What kind of advice did he give you? And I just really picked their brains on what it was like to have a really close, like emotional, and feeling really safe to be yourself relationship with your dad. Sorry, that was very confusing. And I also watched some movies where I really liked the father figure, and I really paid attention to like what would I want in a like an ideal father. And I came up with like a list. This is the kind of things I would want him to say. This is kind of how I would want him to be. This is how I would want to feel around him. And I went inside, like kind of on an internal journey, which this whole part like might sound kind of woo-woo to people. I don't really know where you're at, but bear with me. And I found this part of me that was like my inner father, but it didn't really know how to be like an inner father. And so I taught it like all these things that like I kind of read through my list, and And then this part of me developed over the next couple of weeks. I kept like connecting to it. And now my inner father, like when I think of it, I feel like a comfort like over my heart and into my stomach. And he, in my mind's eye, he looks like the father from Brave. So he's like super tall, like 7 feet tall, and he's like really big, and he has a big red beard. And if you remember from Brave, he taught his daughter to like hunt, and she didn't have to be a lady, like the mother wanted. He taught her to like build her own skills and be her own woman. And so in connecting with this inner father, it really did start to meet my needs. Like, I really felt this deep sense of belonging. And of course, like, this is all within myself. And so it's like kind of a part of me that seems like it's not part of me, but it is. And so it really started to meet those feelings, feeling safe around a father figure and held and um, approved of and celebrated by a father figure. And my inner child also was not as prevalent in my life. Like sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had the experience where you're in a situation or something and you say something or you act in a way that you're like, oh my God, like I'm 34 and I just acted like a 5-year-old. That's your inner child coming out. And so that happened less and less. Like basically I started having less daddy issues. and and then a little while later, I found myself talking to somebody about my dad and the things that I really loved about him. And I felt this inner shift in me that I didn't need my dad or my mom to change anymore. Like, I could accept them and celebrate them for who they are. And that was a really big shift. And because of that, because I could kind of let that go and meet my own parental needs, I have a lot more peace around that. I mean, it's not perfect. And my relationship with them in person is a little bit more strained, but way better than it used to be. But mostly, it's not affecting me internally, like when they're not even there. This is something else I realized is like and I still hear my parents' voices, don't get me wrong. I still do. When I do certain things, I hear my parents' voices or like their presence disapproving or judging or something. But it's way less than it used to be. And I realized like that's not actually my dad and my mom, you know? If your inner critical voice sounds like your mom, which is really common, it's not actually your mom. It's your inner critic. And it's your belief patterns and it's your conditioning. And those things can be changed. Like they can be worked on. And to realize that was a huge relief for me. And so, what if you could take responsibility for your inner child and reparent her yourself and give yourself the things that you want from your parents? And what if you can just let your parents be who they are? So that maybe they can just let you be who you are. Yeah, I know it might be a little bit radical of a thought and a concept, but it's made a really big difference in my life, and I really wanted to share it with people because it's not something we talk about a lot, and yet I think a lot of us deal with that. a lot of us deal with our parents' continued presence in our lives even when they aren't present. Which makes sense. Like, there's no shame in that because we were raised. I mean, their reality was, they dictated our reality as children. Except sometimes we forget that we are adults now and that we can provide for ourselves. So, yeah, just sit on that for a while, see how you feel about it, and yeah, there you have it. How to stop waiting for your parents to change is you fulfill your own needs. You be the change that you want to see in your parents, so to speak. You fulfill those needs. So next week will not be live, but I will have a video coming out. Same time, 9 o'clock on Wednesday, the video will come out. And it is going to be on what is healthy sex. And then the week after that will be my last podcast or my last YouTube live, which I'm not sure what it's going to be. It's going to be a surprise. But those will be the 15 weeks of mini class of Tea with Phoebe D. Thank you for joining me. And I hope, as always, that you have a wonderfully messy week. Good night.